Hey Guardians, I just want to let everyone know that I do have both a Twitch and a Twitter, and I'm very active on both. Feel free to come give me a follow on both, links in the description. Alright Guardians, first things first before we start talking about the new firepower. We have around 150 new subs here from the collaboration I had the pleasure of doing with Cami Cakes, and any of my subs who did not see that, you should go and watch it. It was a good discussion and it was a blast to make. But to the new subs, welcome and thanks for choosing to hang out here. I truly appreciate everyone who chooses to sub to my little corner of YouTube. It really does mean a lot to me. Now, getting into business here, on your screen now are timestamps in the event there's a specific weapon you want to hear about, and this year Bungie did actually nail the weapons. I do hope that holiday events in the future get improvements with activities and whatnot, but I've said for a while that a short-term, more immediate solution to getting people involved in these events is improving the loot, and if the Solstice guns are an indicator of what holiday event weapons can be, then they've certainly accomplished that, because these weapons are well worth the grind. Now, getting right into it, let's start with Fortunate Star, the new bow. I will say for PvP, I do think there are better options to be sure. The Nightfall bow I can never pronounce correctly, for example, but if you do want to use this, then there are some options here. Maybe something like Archer's Tempo with Opening Shot or Archer's Gambit, or Successful Warm-Up with Kill Clip. At the end of the day, it's a bow. We all know how 95% of bow players play in PvP, and for sitting in the back of the map taking pot shots at people, this will work fine. It's a bow, it'll do its job. Now for PvE, we have some great combos here. To start, Repulsor Brace with destabilizing rounds. You all should know by now that I am a huge fan of this combo because they have perfect synergy. Repulsor Brace will give you an overshield after killing Void debuff targets, and destabilizing rounds will cause targets to explode on kill and make any nearby enemies volatile. So you can see how these two work together perfectly. This is a great way to ensure you have a near constant overshield in PvE. Otherwise, of course, you could go with a straight up ad clear option such as Archer's Tempo or Successful Warm-Up with Kill Clip, Golden Tricorn, or maybe Archer's Gambit. Personally, in this instance, I'd go with Archer's Tempo or Successful Warm-Up with Kill Clip, since Kill Clip will proc automatically on a bow after a kill. And my second choice for raw damage would be Golden Tricorn, since it's a very easy perk to proc and keep procking inside of PvE. Now, as far as your stats go, just reduce that draw time as much as you possibly can and give yourself some accuracy in there. Elastic String, Carbon Fiber Arrow Shaft, Draw Time Masterwork, so on and so forth. For PvE purposes, this thing should really shred, especially if you're on a Void build, and while I detest bows in PvP, they're a real blessing in PvE, particularly in endgame content where enemies just soak up bullets like crazy. Next up, something new. This is a Stasis 120 hand cannon, and it's been around for a while now, but in the past it really wasn't that great, and by not great, I mean its only real redeeming factor was it had Kill Clip. But its newest version is actually very strong. Now, just to get the obvious out of the way, no, this is not on par with Igneous Hammer, but there's a way it can get pretty close, and that's with Elemental Capacitor in the third column. As we've discussed in the past before, LE-Cap will give you a large stat bonus depending on subclass, and while in the past I wasn't a huge fan of this, as I don't like having to be married to a specific subclass for a stat bonus, Prismatic has really made me fall in love with this perk, since I can choose the bonus I want from LE-Cap by selecting the corresponding super. Now, while most of the bonuses from LE-Cap are useful, if your goal is to try and get as close to an Igneous Hammer level stat spread as possible, then your best options are going to be Arc for 50 handling or Void for 20 stability. If you're using Arc, I would probably go for Small Bore, Steady Rounds, and a Range Masterwork. This gives you 70 range, which is plenty on a 120, 52 stability, and 80 handling, as well as 30 AE with the bonus from Steady Rounds. If you opt for Void, then there's a few different ways you could go. If you still want some decent handling and similar stats to the roll above, then Fluted Barrel, Accurized Rounds, and a Handling Masterwork for 68 range, 55 stability, and 55 handling. And of course, keep in mind, when you enhance those third and fourth column perks, you'll get a slight stat bonus as well, which will take your range up to 71 or so. If you're less worried about handling, then I would go for Small Bore, Steady Rounds, and a Range Masterwork. 70 range, 72 stability, 30 handling, 30 AE. Alternatively, with that stability bonus from Void, avoid, you could just go for max range. I would avoid full bore since it will hurt your stability and handling. Instead, go for hammer forged, accurized rounds, and a range masterwork. 88 range and you'll still have 50 stability, or if you want to keep that high range and have your stats be a little more well-rounded, trade the range masterwork for stability, and you'll have 78 range, which will go up to 81 when you enhance your perks, and 60 stability. Then regardless, you want precision instrument in that fourth column to move that 2 crit 1 body resilience gate up to tier 9. Now alternatively, if you're on hunter and you're down to rock Bacchus, you could instead opt for something like rapid hit and then kill clip, since if you proc kill clip and Bacchus perk, you will be able to 2-tap at any resilience due to something new being stasis. And if you look at my first impressions video I did on these weapons, I went over what a gameplay loop for that could look like, link in the description. Now some other honorable mentions here would be To the Pain with precision instrument. I got one of these rolls and it actually felt pretty good. I'm still not entirely sold on To the Pain for hand cannons, but once it was procced and I started accumulating multiple stacks, the bump in aim assist was extremely noticeable. Alternatively, of course, snapshot sights is never a bad option either in that third column. Regardless, I would combine either of those with precision instrument, or if you're worried about PI getting nerfed, then go with explosive payload, Vorpal, maybe frenzy if you can take advantage of it, or of course just kill clip. All that being said, the LE cap rolls are still by far my favorite and really help set this apart from other kinetic slot 120s. In fact, if you're willing to take advantage of LE cap, then this is probably the best in slot option for a legendary 120. Moving on, crowning dual log. Now here's the deal with this rocket. It's a precision frame, so if you have a crafted Apex Predator or something of the sort, then you can pretty well ignore this thing. But if you're a brand new player and or a free-to-play player who needs a solid PvE rocket, then this is one of those good enough weapons that you could use until you're able to get something better. Obviously, the main role you want here is going to be hard launch for the velocity increase and blast radius decrease, impact casing for the boost to impact damage, then reconstruction so the weapon can overload to 2 rockets in the tube, and of course bait and switch for the damage increase. I did also get that reconstruction and envious assassin role that I talked a little bit about in that first impressions video, and unfortunately it just didn't do what I was hoping it would. The two combined put 3 rockets in the tube, and I was hoping it would be more like 4 or 5. Not to say this is a particularly good option, but blasting a boss in the face with 5 rockets in a row in rapid succession just sounded like a good time. Now I did get one okay-ish roll on crowning dual log, you can see it on your screen now, and just for the sake of comparison, I recrafted my Apex Predator with matching perks and did some damage testing. I used Well of Radiance just for survivability, but other than that, no surges, no Gallahorn helping me out, just the raw damage outputs of the 2 rocket launchers. And unsurprisingly, Apex Predator did outperform crowning dual log. But again, this is still a good rocket if you're a new player or a free-to-play player until you can get something better. Now, saving my favorite for last and the one I'm the most excited to talk about, Compass Rose. I've had a fondness for this shotgun for a while now, but it was for sure inferior to other options, but that isn't really the case anymore. This is arguably the best energy precision frame pellet shotgun in the game, because while Matador does have slightly better base stats, Compass Rose's perks can be enhanced, and as of right now, Matador's cannot. Compass Rose is also solar, so this gives anyone maining a solar subclass or prismatic with a solar super an option that will allow them to take advantage of harmonic mods also. Now, keeping in mind that this is a PvP weapon and can pretty well be ignored for PvE, there's 2 roles I would go for here. First off, you could go with the same option that you would on Matador. Barrel Shroud, accurized rounds, threat detector, opening shot, and a range or handling masterwork depending on what you prioritize. RNG actually blessed me here and it gave me a perfect 5 out of 5 with a range masterwork. I would have preferred handling here, but while it did feel perhaps slightly slower than Matador, with the enhanced perks overall I would say it did still feel better than Matador usually does. This particular shotgun will probably just live on my Warlock since I usually run Ophidians on Warlock anyway. So with that roll and a range masterwork, you have a base range of 82, 45 handling, and an effective range of 6.18 meters. handling masterwork, 72 range, 55 handling, 5.89 meters of range. Keep in mind, of course, opening shot will give you a free 12.5 or so range, given that special weapons only receive half of opening shot's benefits. That is likely the role most folks are going for, otherwise you could just go with your typical shotgun ape roll, probably corkscrew or small bore, assault mag, slide shot, range masterwork, and opening shot. Pretty standard stuff for weirdos who enjoy special weapon jousting. But there's one role in particular that does kind of set this shotgun apart from its peers. Well, Guardians, the impossible has happened. We actually have a weapon that I can comfortably recommend Slick Draw on with two caveats. It absolutely must be paired with opening shot, and it must have at least 70 range. Now, I hate Slick Draw. I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it. I think it's an awful perk. It does give you a very substantial bonus to your weapon handling, but it also hurts your auto-aim cone, and there are videos out there about that will explain that better than me. And this is noticeable, and in a game where literally every weapon shoots bowling balls instead of bullets, using this perk is a great way to screw yourself over, usually. However, back when it first got re-released, I did get a Reese Walker with Slick Draw and opening shot, and it actually felt okay. And all I could figure was that the aim assist bonus from opening shot must offset the Slick Draw penalty enough that the shotgun didn't feel like complete trash. The main issue here is that Reese Walker is a lightweight shotgun, and that archetype is kind of on the struggle bus right now anyway. But Compass Rose is kind of a different story, so let me tell you the role I'd recommend in this case. Starting with your barrel, go with rifled barrel, since Slick Draw nullifies the handling penalty. For your magazine, go with accurized rounds, then you want a range masterwork. From there, obviously, Slick Draw and opening shot. You'll have 92 range without opening shot, and thus an effective range of 6.47 meters. That goes up to 6.7 meters when opening shot is active. I got a very similar roll to this. Not quite what I wanted, but good enough. Rifled barrel, assault mag, and unfortunately a stability masterwork, but I still have Slick Draw and opening shot. So I have 72 base range, giving me 5.89 meters of effective range without opening shot, and 6.27 meters with opening shot. And of course, I do have both perks enhanced, which helps my stats a little bit more, and it also slightly reduces the penalty from Slick Draw and increases the effectiveness of opening shot. And the performance of this shotgun shocked me. First off, the handling on this weapon feels magnificent, and while it still isn't as consistent with the one-shot kill as my threat detector opening shot roll, I found it generally still feels more consistent than something like my quick draw snapshot Retold Tale, and Retold is still a fantastic shotgun, so it's for sure consistent enough to get the job done, but what really struck me is the handling. With my Slick Draw roll plus quick access sling, I have a ready speed of 0.18 seconds. For comparison, a max handling threat detector roll with barrel shroud and a handling masterwork plus one stack of threat detector and quick access sling is 0.22 seconds. Two stacks of threat detector takes it to 0.15 seconds, meaning Slick Draw is only 0.03 seconds slower than two stacks of threat detector, and Slick Draw does not require having two or more opponents nearby. And this meant that Compass Rose was there pretty much whenever I really needed it. Plus, Slick Draw does not have some of the consistency issues that threat detector typically does. Now, is this a perfect shotgun? No, it isn't. It did still whiff some shots it absolutely should not have, but that can happen with just about any pellet shotgun these days, and I didn't notice it any more with Slick Draw opening shot than on most of my other shotguns. Though again, like I said, it was slightly, emphasis on slightly, less consistent than my threat detector opening shot roll. For the most part, I paired this with Rose, and this combo is probably the closest you're going to get to that OG Sparebenders feel, but I did also pair it with lower handling weapons such as Ace and a non-LE cap something new, and it still did exactly what I needed it to. So if you get a good Slick Draw roll on this shotgun, definitely give it a try. Just remember, it needs to have opening shot, and it also needs to be at 70 range or above to hit that needed level of consistency. What I can say is that my Slick Draw roll will probably be my new go-to shotgun when I need an energy slot shotty. It really is something special. So overall, while Bonfire Bash still kind of sucks to farm and Solstice is still a grind and RNG is still cruel, I'm very, very happy with these weapons. Bungie did an outstanding job of reworking their perk pools, and every single one of them has a place somewhere in the game. That's all from me today, Guardians. If you enjoyed this video, then do me a favor and leave me a comment with your thoughts on these weapons. Let me know what roles you're going for, you know the deal. As always, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe with the bell icon and share this video with anyone who you think might find it helpful or entertaining. That's the best way you can support the channel. For now, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, Guardians.